see a flower, we become amazed and fascinated by its beauty, color of the petals, fragrance, and so on. But have you ever wondered about the different parts of a flower? How each part plays its own role and together makes the flower beautiful? Or have you noticed the arrangement of flowers on the stem? Some are arranged at the tip, some laterally, either single or many. There are different types of flower arrangement which we shall learn in this video. Let's dive deep into the knowledge of flowers. So what makes a flower beautiful? There are many parts which makes the flower beautiful. Let us discuss the parts and their functions. You would be surprised to know that the flower is a reproductive part of the plant, particularly in angiosperm. Angiosperms are plants that produces flowers and fruits. A flower has 4 warts arranged on the thalamus and a stalk called pedicel which attaches the flower to the stem. The thalamus is a swollen part and is also known as receptacle. The 4 parts or whorls of a flower are the accessory organs which contains calyx and corolla, whereas the reproductive organs contains androecium and gynoecium. Some flowers such as lily has no distinct calyx or corolla. Hence the term used here is perianth. There are many terminologies related to flowers. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, then the flower is said to be a bisexual flower. Whereas if either of them is present, it is said to be a unisexual flower. A flower having radial symmetry is called actinomorphic and can be divided into 2 radial halves. Example, mustard, chili, etc. Flowers having bilateral symmetry is called a zygomorphic flower. It can be divided into 2 equal halves. Example, pea, bean, etc. A flower which cannot be divided into similar half is said to be a asymmetric flower. A flower is said to be trimerous, tetramerous or pentamerous if the floral appendages are in multiples of 3, 4 or 5 respectively. Some flowers may have bracts which are modified leaf at the base of the pedicels and they are called bracteates, while those without bracts are called as ebracteates. Depending upon the position of the corolla, calyx and androecium on the thalamus with respect to the ovary, flowers may be hypogynous, that is, the gynoecium of these flowers occupy a higher position and the rest of the parts are below it. Example, brinjal. The next type is perigynous. Here, the gynoecium is present at the center and the other parts are arranged around it at the same level. The ovary is said to be half inferior. Example, plum. The third type is epigynous. Here the thalamus grows upward, fusing with the ovary and enclosing it completely, while the other parts are above it, making the ovary inferior. Example, cucumber. Now that we have learned some of the miscellaneous terms related to flowers, we have reached the main topic of discussion, that is the parts of the flower. So let's start with the accessory parts. Can you now guess the names of the accessory parts? Yes, they are calyx and corolla. Calyx constitute the outermost whorl called sepals, which are green in color, hence giving the appearance of a leaf. Can you now guess the functions of sepal? The functions of sepal or calyx is to protect the flower buds and undergo photosynthesis. The sepals can be united as in gamosepalous or free as in polysepalous. Now this was about the sepals, that is calyx. We'll now move on to corolla. Corolla constitutes of petals which are brightly colored and have fragrance. Fragrance are for attracting pollinators. Petals may also be united as in gamopetalous or free as in polypetalous. You might have observed different flowers have different color petals, size and shape. So, how are the sepals and petals arranged in a flower? There is a particular pattern seen. The way sepals or petals are arranged with respect to the other members of the same whole is called estivation. There are various types of estivations. Let's see them one by one. Valvate estivation, where the petals and sepals just touch each other at the margin without overlapping. Example as in Calotropis. The next one is the twisted estivation, where the appendages overlap each other, as in China rose. The third is imbricate estivation, where the margin overlap one another regardless of direction. Example, Gulmohar. The fourth type of estivation is quinquential estivation. In this type, one petal remains completely in and one completely out. The last estivation is vexillary estivation. It is seen in pea flower, where the large petal overlap with two lateral petals in turns overlap the smallest anterior petals. As mentioned earlier, androecium constitutes the male reproductive part of a flower. Let us have a detailed discussion on its constituents. Have you ever heard of the term stamens? Stamens are individual units of androecium. Each stamen is composed of a filament called stalk and an anther. The anther are the bilobed structure containing pollen sacs. Each pollen sac contains pollen grains. Even though the stamen is the male reproductive unit, but not all stamen contains pollen grain and take part in reproduction. Such stamens are said to be sterile and are called as staminoids. Just as how sepals and petals have their own kind of arrangement, similarly stamens have specific arrangement which differ in different flowers. Epipetalous, when stamens are attached to the petals. Example, brinjal. Epiphyllous, when the stamens are attached to the perianth of the flower. Example, lily. We have seen sepals and petals being either free or united. Similarly, stamens may be free, that is polyandrous, or united, that is monodelphous, where stamens are united in one bunch. Example, China rose. Diadelphous, where the stamens are united into two bundles. Example, pea. And polyadelphous, where the stamens are united in more than two bundles. Example, citrus. The length of the stalk or filament may vary within a flower as seen in mustard. Let's now move on to the second reproductive part of a flower, that is gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female reproductive organ of a flower made up of carpel. Carpel has the following constituent. Ovary is the basal part of the carpel and is enlarged, whereas style arises from the ovary and connects the ovary to the stigma. The third part is the stigma. Stigma is situated at the tip of the style and it receives the pollen grains. The ovary has one or more ovules attached to the placenta which act as a cushion. Carpels may be free, that is apocarpous, as seen in lotus, or may be united, that is syncarpous, as seen in mustard. What can be the function of the ovules and the ovary? Well, the ovules develop into seed and the ovaries into fruits after fertilization. Are you familiar with the term placentation? Placentation is the arrangement of ovules in the ovary. The types of placentations are marginal. The placenta forms a ridge along the ovary and the ovules are attached on the ridge forming two rows. Example P. The next one is axial placentation. Here the placenta is in axial position and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovary. Example tomato. The third type is parietal placentation. The ovules develop on the inner walls of the ovary and its periphery. A false septum is formed, forming two chambers into the ovary. Example, cucumber. The fourth type of placentation is free central placentation. When there is no septum and the ovules are attached on the central axis. Example, primrose. The next type is the basal placentation. The placenta is located at the base of the ovary having only one ovule attached. Example, sunflower. Have you ever observed how flowers are arranged on a stem? There are various floral arrangements which differ from plant to plant. The floral arrangement on the floral axis is referred to as inflorescence. There are two types of inflorescence depending upon whether the apex develops into a flower or it continues to grow. The first type is racemose inflorescence. Here the flower grows laterally, that is on the side in an acropetal succession. Example, snapdragon. Now, you might think, what is acropetal succession? Acropetal succession refers to the growth or development upward from the point of attachment. The basal flower will be the older one and mature, while the flowers at the tip will be new and in the bud stage. In racemose inflorescence, the main axis or stem continues to grow, whereas the next type is cymose inflorescence. In cymose inflorescence, the main stem or axis is limited in growth as it develops into a flower. The flowers develop in a basipetal order. Example, jasmine. Now again the question comes here. What is meant by basipetal order? Basipetal refers to the arrangement of flowers downward from the point of attachment. Isn't nature amazing? A flower known for its beauty and fragrance would be so intricately designed. Try to find out more examples of different types of flowers and their arrangements. Let's now summarize what we have learned.
Manorama Horizon. Learning made simple.